I keep forgetting to mention this, but my neck and shoulders and even my lower back are doing much better now. So thank you very much for all of your best wishes. And yeah, chiropractic, I'm all for it. Good evening, YouTube, and all my subscriber family. And today, I'd like to talk about one of the comments that was mentioned, I want to say, either 2 or 3 weeks ago. And so, I want to thank Girl on Fire 2.0 for the question that she had, or the series of questions, really. And she writes, could you do a video on what's the best kind of van to buy, what's a good price to pay for a used van, and what to look for when buying a van? I'm sure others have done similar vids, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts on it, and how did you find your van? So, again, thanks, Girl on Fire 2.0. I was planning on actually writing an organized list of things to look for and my thoughts and whatnot, but I decided to just kind of wing it best I could and hope that it kind of makes sense. So the first thing I want to address is, yes, this topic has been brought up by a multitude of van dwellers that make videos on YouTube, but since she values my opinion, I am more than happy to share it. And as far as the best type of van, I would have to say that is kind of a debate from person to person. Now, I own a Dodge, and while I'm not necessarily a Dodge person per se, I kind of lean more toward Ford for a number of reasons, but Dodge does make a good 8-cylinder engine, so I have no qualms about owning a Dodge by any means. And quite frankly, when it comes down to it, when you get used vehicles, it's along the lines of what's available. But nevertheless, when it comes to the best type of van, it depends on what one wants to do with it as far as van builds go. Some people prefer to be a little bit more stealthy and want to be able to fit in more locations, and so a 1500 chassis, or basically a half-ton chassis, will work just fine with a standard height. I wanted a vehicle that I could stand up in, and I've seen videos of people that don't necessarily care to stand up because all they want to do is sleep in their van, but otherwise are outdoors, and that's fine for those type of people. I'm going to be spending quite a bit of time outdoors when I finally move into the van full-time, which I'm getting pretty close. But at the same time, it rains a lot here, and so I want to also be able to move freely. And that's why I chose an 18-foot vehicle. It's not too long, but it's also about 6'1" on the inside, so I just barely fit. Sometimes I have to hunch over a little bit. So basically, it really depends on what one wants to do with the van. Some people can do the minivan just fine. But I will make, as far as advice goes, I will say this much. Now, I am a firm believer in simplicity is best. And by that, older vehicles, the engines and their components are a lot more basic, and that's why I went for a 1990. I would have actually been okay with going older than that, but I'm going to base this advice off of experience when it comes to mechanical issues that have come along. Not necessarily issues, but obstacles. And I haven't had an issue with having the van worked on and fixed. It's a little bit less expensive because there's not nearly as many components. But if I were to purchase a vehicle again, and you never know, it might happen, but hopefully it'll be a while. If I were to purchase a vehicle again, the year range that I would focus on, and this is based off of 3 different mechanics confirming this information. The years that I would range between are 1996 and 2005. And the reason why is because after 2005 is when a lot of the computers were really being implemented far more in depth. And newer vehicles, as you know, have computers telling computers what to do. And when one of those computers fails, then it becomes a giant puzzle as far as figuring out what is going on. And then you fix one thing to find out it is another thing, and it can become a mess. But prior to 1996 was the era of ODB1. And I've searched around, and for the most part, no mechanics carry around an OBD1 reader for error messages. And they tell me it's because it's too archaic. And almost nobody has that old of a vehicle anymore. Now, I know that's not necessarily true, but that's their justification for no longer carrying ODB1 equipment. And quite frankly, having an ODB2 computer in the vehicle, it has some advantages to it. The biggest advantage is you can get those ODB2 readers that you can connect to a tablet, and you can just look up every bit of information about the engine that's possibly available. And yeah, of course, all the other sensors attached to it and whatnot. And and it's quite frankly something that I would definitely be interested in the future if I were to purchase another vehicle. So that's one thing to keep in mind, is a vehicle within the age range of 1996 and 2005. And of course, I don't expect everybody's going to agree with that, but I've had 3 different mechanics tell me the exact same information. And so I'm going to go with that, since they know more than I do. They're more than qualified, whereas I am far underqualified as anything close to mechanical information. The other big advice that I can give when it comes to a van is researching the engine, because that's going to be very crucial. When it came to purchasing this van, my 1990 Dodge B350 extended cargo van, I noticed that it had a 318 V8 engine in it. And so I did the research and found out that these engines are known to go for a long time. I've heard as much as 400,000 miles. And so this having 118,000 miles when I got it was just barely breaking it in. And the tripometer doesn't work anymore, so I can't see the mileage, and I can't check my fuel consumption or my mileage per gallon anymore, which is unfortunate. I was getting readings between 14 and 16 because of the small block V8, but I can't do that anymore. But I'm guessing that it has about 145,000 miles on it, and it runs like a champ, so I cannot complain with that. But yeah, researching the type of engine is definitely a high recommendation. Also, researching the type of transmission that it is, assuming that it's an automatic that you go for. That's also important to do, because some transmissions, like the Fords, as much of a Ford person as I am, I know that between like 2003 and 2006, something along those lines, or maybe it was 2003 to 2005. It's hard to remember now because you don't use it, you lose it. But they were known for having faulty transmissions in their 3/4 ton and full ton vehicles. trucks more than anything else. So it's very important to look at the mechanical aspects, just doing a little bit of research. You don't have to get into the nitty-gritty, but just to know the reputation of that engine and transmission. Because some of the other issues like brakes and whatnot, those are, although they can be expensive to replace or fix up or whatnot, they're not nearly as expensive as replacing an engine or a transmission, because that can cost anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 without skip. So just some of the information I would mention, and also knowing what type of layout you want to have for your vehicle. Now I knew that I wanted to have a lot of storage space, and that's why I went with the extended. And that's also why, like, I only have a twin size mattress in the back instead of having a full size like I would be more comfortable having. The size of the van is important to know. If you're to get one that's only 4 feet wide, don't expect to be able to put a bed from one side to the other and be able to lay on it comfortably. This one is 5'9" on the inside from wall to wall, so I do have to bend my knees in order to lay in the back or lay diagonally. And that's one of those things that I was willing to sacrifice, because I've also been known to be a side sleeper, and that means I can bend my knees with no problem. It's just about finding the vehicle that's available that has a high reputation mechanically. When it comes to older vehicles, a name brand gets less and less relevant. And that's not to say that it's irrelevant, but it just becomes less and less relevant. Especially with all the aftermarket parts out there that can fix some of the known issues that are with vehicles and that are known with motors and transmissions. It becomes less and less of a priority. As far as how, and I know I'm going to miss things, but these are just things off the top of my head that I'm thinking about that I either did or wish I would have done. Because if I would have known the information that I know now, perhaps I would have still stuck with this vehicle, but there's a high chance that I may have passed up on it, even though one of the key factors that really drove me toward purchasing this van was, one, the price. I only paid $2,000 for it, and I've invested a lot more than that into mechanical repairs, but I'll go into that in just a moment. But one of the driving forces to getting this vehicle is the high top. It already had one. I didn't have to invest $3,000 into installing a high top. And they don't cost that much, but it's the labor that really gets you. But that was already done. Also, since I mentioned that, this van came from a school district, which by law have to maintain their vehicles very regularly and on time. And so having some sort of record as far as the maintenance goes is a huge plus. And it can make or break a good deal on a vehicle. So keep that in mind too. Ask if they have records, because that's very important. A vehicle that has had its oil changed every 30,000 miles versus one that may have been every 10,000 miles and doesn't use synthetic oil, it's a huge difference on the lifespan of the vehicle. Just trust me on that. I've dealt with that from personal experience on more than one occasion until I finally learned my lesson. As far as how I found my van, I found it on Craigslist, and one thing I've learned more recently, search Tempest.com. I'll try to remember to put a link down in the description below, but search Tempest.com is a website that will actually link you to a list of all Craigslist areas available for specific types of vehicles that you're looking for. And so if you're in the market for a specific type of vehicle and that's what you really want to stick to, which is not a bad idea, then you can actually see it all that's laid out right there. So if you're not So if you're willing to fly out to whichever state it's located in and then driving it to where you live afterward, searchtempest.com is a great resource. So like I said, I'll try to remember to link it down in the description below. But yeah, Craigslist is how I found mine. I know there are definitely people out there that would much rather purchase either brand new or like new vehicles. I like older vehicles because they're more simple to work on, although again, that age range of 1996 to 2005 is probably where I'm going to focus on if there is an event where I no longer possess this vehicle. So like I said, I've probably missed out on some important information, and as you know, I love the interaction between you, my subscriber family, and myself. So if there is something that I missed out on, feel free to include that below, because if people can benefit from knowledge that you have, more than likely I can benefit from it as well. In fact, I can almost guarantee I can benefit from it. And you never know, maybe I'll just do an updated video with that information, give credit where credit is due, and I just like having all that interaction. I do read all my comments, and I really appreciate all of the interaction that we have, even though I am not always great at responding right away. I do read them as they come along. So yeah, feel free to chime in, because I know that the more we work together to share information, the better off all of us are, informatively and experientially. I think that's a word. And if not, I'm making it a word. Until next time, thank you for watching. Take care. Love others as you love yourself. And I'll see you next time.